Hello, hello.
Hello there.
I'm chatting with Alex because the link is not working. He says
Okay.
nothing to do.
All right. Somebody just want to say hello before we
Hey,
start. Is you gonna be a good boy and want some woo woo? All right. All right.
so let's talk about communication.
Okay. I'm ready. Let's do this. Because it's funny you said that. Um, I had a conversation with a coworker about communicating.
Okay,
I think it was yesterday, and the problem that he has, kind of similar to ours
okay,
in a way. He is divorced. He's got a daughter that lives with him,
hmm,
and he also has a girlfriend who just came into town. And
wait, came into town?
yeah, came into town because they live apart. He
Okay,
just recently moved here,
okay,
and she lives somewhere else. So she flew in, and he's thinking, we're going to establish some time together, but also understanding that he has a daughter
okay,
that lives with him as a single parent.
yep,
So and he has his own schedule, work schedule.
yep,
Plus, he's going to the gym when he gets
yep,
off work and everything. So, um, he said when he got home, he had made this whole plan, but his daughter had ended up changing her plans because she was going to go hang out or stay the night with somebody, and then
okay,
she couldn't do it,
okay,
or she just didn't want to go. So it really messed up his plan, and he had planned that time to spend with his girlfriend,
yep,
but so he went to the gym earlier. He said, we'll make time for you, time for later.
okay,
So he was telling me that she was kind of upset. I said, well, I can understand. Because no, he said, but I told her I love her, kind of like we talked about not too long ago with a friend. I
yeah,
told her that, he's telling her all these things. I said, yeah,
yeah,
but your actions aren't showing it.
exactly. So, how old is the child? Can we play? Can we?
Uh, she's 15.
Okay. So at this point, the child is old enough to stay home by herself
Yes.
if they do something, right? Like, so say they go to dinner
Uh huh.
instead of doing the full blown whatever life plan they had, right?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Right.
I know that wasn't the way your story went out, but finish your story. I'm sorry.
um, just that the life plans was additional duties, or should I say? So it's more like other things that doesn't involve teenagers.
I mean, it's understandable, right? Because they had plans, but sometimes if you can adjust,
Oh yes,
but the problem is it's in reality we play children play a part in the planning of the situation. The child changing her plans should not have canceled or x out their plans, but we gotta make room for adjustments, if that's the good word to put it, right? Like adjustments, because I mean the children thing. Oh, Jesus help us. The part the children play in this whole entire thing is it's a real thing. It's a real, and especially if she doesn't have any kids.
yes.
Jesus
She
help
has a
me.
she has a son.
How old is her son?
I'm not sure. I didn't go
So
into
he didn't
detail.
play a part in that equation then, or
Right, right.
okay,
Yeah, I think he's a little older. But
okay,
what I was going back to was that, well, the first thing is that you're not really communicating. You're telling her what you would like to do. You kind of want to keep your same schedule, but
yeah,
yet she took time off to come visit you. And I think I kind of got a little experience at
okay.
this.
He's doing a
Um,
video.
and because someone comes to visit you, yeah, I got it. You don't want to put everything on hold that what you've been doing, but that's the right thing to do because they're taking their time of their day to visit you. Now, and I'm sure you can. It wouldn't hurt to just message him for a week or not do this or that because if they're that important to you, then you will make time for that person.
Huh?
See, and hey, we all learn, and I know I've learned. And another thing that, or another situation that popped up was dealing with communication. Is I told you about this. Another one of my coworkers had came in. He just got back. He's in a fairly new relationship, but not
Yep.
new relationship, but they live together. And I had to explain to him about expectations, not just expectations on with your job, but also with your relationship, because right now you're showing your spouse or your girlfriend or your loved ones that your job is more important than her.
Mhm.
Um, and I says you need to communicate this not just with your loved one, but also at work. You need to go in there and say, hey, I've been away for this long. I need to be at home at this time. You go in it at this time to be with my wife. Let them know, or blah, blah, let them know that they are important. Hey, welcome, Alex.
Hey, what's going on? How are you doing? I had a little bit of technical difficulty, so I had to join in on my phone instead of my laptop.
Hey, it happens. Hey, the phone always comes through.
Indeed.
So what we're talking about is Reginald was just talking about his coworker and the communication, right? So relationships and the communication that we have with our other other side, like wife, husband, what girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, us communicating with them and having that. For me, communication, it's not just like, okay, hey, I'm telling you this and this is what's going to happen. And as we go along in life, right, like the higher, I've learned that people who are higher up in like leadership positions, and we're going back to our military backgrounds, right? Alex is still in. First off, everybody, this Mr. Two Cent, he got he got little tidbits for you when you're ready. But we have these expectations of, when I tell you something, you automatically, like, I'm talking for me, right? So I say, hey, this is what I expect, right? This is what I want. And I communicate that. But then if my other half doesn't reciprocate or doesn't come back, and if I tell him this specific thing and then he don't come through, where was the lack of the communication, right? Was it on my end or was it on his end? Or are we both wrong because we didn't clearly, the lines were blurred when we say what we expect or what we need or what we want. And that goes with everything, right? So job, personal life. If I say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, and then I guess we have to have that conversation of, okay, are you okay with what I'm doing? I mean, it's like where is that crossing the line situation? Where's the communication breakdown in a relationship? Right? Where is it? Because
For me, I would say it's not even about, well, it is about communication, but it's also about comprehension. So you can be an effective communicator. You are relaying exactly what it is you want, and that person is understanding what you want. But if they don't comprehend to the point of they actually take action, communication has a breakdown. And then you can mislabel it and say, hey, we're not being effective communicators or we have a communication breakdown. But it's all about comprehension.
Yeah, it's like, are you? So one thing that I always do when the wife tells me something, I will repeat it, and she doesn't like when I repeat that because like that's what I said.
yeah.
Well, I'm just repeating it to make sure that I fully understand what you're saying. Like,
So he goes, I mean, I won't go into specifics, right? But climb that ladder and go up to the second step. So you want me to climb that ladder and go up to the second step? Yes. So I have to climb the ladder and go up the second. Like, dude, you didn't hear me the first time. You repeated it 2, 3 times. Did did it? You not understand me? So he
but
said, well, I just have to process it. But for me now, I'm like, golly, like what? what did I miss that you had to repeat it 3 times just to climb up the damn ladder?
Well, I think I try to be more clear with it, meaning like I would draw it out a little bit more to make sure I fully understand what she wants. And I think I would like to say I blame that on the military because how we always repeat ourselves to make sure that, hey, boss, I got it. Yeah, you got it. Okay, hey, repeat what I just said. Okay, hey, a full and clear understanding of whatever task I have to do. But I understand that, and I always, I'm not going to say the difference between a male and a female because I'm not there yet, and I don't want to go there. But I think there's also with communication, I think differently. So when I'm saying something, it's not like I'm not trying to, how do I say it? Kind of, when I repeat it or something, I'm not trying to escalate the situation. I'm just saying it in a way for me to understand it, and I'm just repeating that back. But then it becomes a breakdown of communication because I'm not responding the way that she's expecting me to respond. Or not just she, just this could be anyone.
But she, me.
I'm listening. Oh,
Me.
That's an interesting point that you bring up, Reggie, because are you supposed to respond in any particular way? Aren't you entitled to respond the way that you understood it? And then if you have, say, a practice of repeating it 2 or 3 times, you should be entitled to that. But one of the other communication breakdowns, I think that you're kind of alluding to as well, based on Chisa's example, is say just as simple as, hey, climb the ladder to the second step. Me and you are in a ship, a relationship, a friendship, or whatever it is. So we should have a bit of trust and a bit of understanding. You should know off the bat that if I'm telling you climb to the second rung on the ladder, it is safe and you are good to go. But when you have doubts start coming in, I think that kind of inhibits communication quite a bit a lot. And then you finally say, well, hey, the second step, yeah, I said the second step, you ain't even moving yet. And then you have all of these communication barriers start coming up, but it actually starts from a lack of trust.
Yeah.
and because you said that, it just makes me think that's something I would tell someone, but oftentimes I don't follow it. And I think that that's also a problem because I know what's right, but because it's my loved one, I think that I can kind of slack off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes my wife say, "Oh, that's would you say this or would you? That's a what kind of question is this?
Yeah.
Well, I just expect you to know, or I won't say everything, the whole situation. I will just give her bits and pieces, thinking that she understands because we've been together for so long. We're speaking the same language, not love language, but language. Um, but I think that, of course, I'm not the only one, and I've seen several people. Yeah, I'm not putting myself.
He always got to add everybody else in. Like, I am
Yeah,
not.
you have to because I'm not the only one that's dealing with this kind of stuff. I know I've had these conversations with several people, and then when I say several people, it's mostly men because in my military career, my adult life was around men. So I know how a lot of how we think. Now, women, that's a different topic, especially being in the infantry because since we didn't have females, the only person I was talking to was my wife. And I didn't have a full, I guess, their, what do you want to say? Like life lessons about it, or I didn't receive a lot of feedback from females because I only dealt with one. And I didn't feel comfortable speaking to other women. That's just how it was because back then, if you say something, you don't know if you're saying the right word or the wrong word or what have you. But anyway, getting back on topic, I got a lot of topics in my head right now. One because Alex is on, and we always had a lot of these conversations. So and I know Alex won't take sides, but Alex know how I feel. So I'm not trying to get Alex here because for those you watching, me and Alex go way back since what 2002 or so.
Yeah,
So
we will.
almost what 20 years or so.
Yep.
We've constantly stayed in touch since then. We've had a lot of these conversations and how we think it and why relationships are so challenging at times. Because and a lot of it had to do with being in the military because that's what we experienced and our commitment to the military or our commitment to the job because we think that our family's always going to be there. Now, I know the biggest problem that I see is that we fail to communicate that, saying that we are going to work late. Hey, I'm going to work late. Okay, what time is late? I don't know. I'll just get home when I get home, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a breakdown right there.
Well, Alex, going back to what you said when you said, expecting him to, respond. Is he supposed to respond in a specific way? And that goes back to our expectations, right? Like we build up this expectation, and when we say something, what we expect to get back, and when we don't get it, it's like, what are we doing here? Like what did I miss? Like did I miss what was said? Did we have a conversation about this? Like, but as I go, I'm learning my expectations because my expectations is through the damn roof. And for me, if you listen, you gotta be the tippy top of that house because I'm coming for you all the way. But I've learned that
See on your back in a rucksack too, boy, just beating you down.
my expectations fail me because it's like I'm the only one mad, right? You turn out like you are the only person that's mad. And when the person, and that goes for everybody, like we go into a situation and we expect it to turn out this way, but then when it doesn't, you like, how dare you not do it the way I seen it in my head? Like I needed you to do it this specific way because now I'm all thrown off because you didn't do it the way you were supposed to do it. Or if I know for me, if we get into something and I feel like I already know myself, like if I'm pissed, it's better that I just stay silent because my comeback is gonna be nasty. It's gonna be disgustingly nasty. So I need to be like, you know what? Let me breathe. Let me think about it in my head before I come back because I'm coming for the jugular. And when I come for your jugular, you're gonna be mad as hell because I'm gonna take you out. So my expectations and who I am, I have to be able to redirect my energy. That's what I'm saying. Redirect my energy to be like, you know what? I'm mad because of my expectations. I'm mad because I expected you to do it that specific way or respond to me in that specific way. And not everybody ain't 10 steps ahead. I gotta remember that, like, okay, I'm already at the stoplight and he's still getting in the car. Like that's where we're at right now. We have to remember that what expectation you have on anything and anybody is how it comes through. And when your response is like, you don't get to tell somebody how to respond. You don't get to tell somebody how to respond to you or reply to what you asked. You just have to take what they give you and be okay. Reality or move on.
No, very, very, very true. As you're talking about, it seems like you're alluding to something about managing your expectations, and they always say, having expectation is the mother of all letdowns. So if you want something to be done and done well, if you don't trust that individual to do it, you might as well just do it yourself.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, in jobs and a relationship, you can't afford to do everything yourself. So
Yes.
when you give a person a certain task or you communicate them, you already know that individual, and you accept, whatever they give you in reciprocity because you understand, well, hey, that this person wants to be a valued member of the team, and even though that they're not going to do it the way that I expect them to or the way I want them to do, for me to build them up, I have to accept what they give me. And it's the same thing if you were talking to your spouse, it's the same thing if you're talking to your children. You already have, say, 40 something years of experience. So you're talking from that level. And when you're talking to a 5-year-old, you going with your 43-year-old expectation and a 5-year-old, and there's no way he can indefinitely meet that, so you definitely need to
Yes.
manage your expectation for the person and the situation, as it's going to be hell and high water, as you say.
Yes. Reginald.
Listen to Alex. You know.
Hey, he dropping that 2 cents on us. I'm saying.
Yeah, he's dropping some good knowledge. So in your experience, what do you see? What have you seen, or problems you've seen in the workplace or in life in general between man and woman expectations and or um, go
It,
ahead,
it for
Alex.
me, it for me was a bit of self growth and managing my expectation. Most people are perfectionists, you know. They want things to be 100% all the time, and then I got to the stage where I realized that hey, 95 is okay. If this your 95, but it could be this
Yeah.
person's 100, you know. So like in military terms, I've had the privilege of leading on, you know, different forums, whether it be ROTC or IBOLIC or whatever it is. And I made the mistake of gauging them, as I was mentioning, with, you know, my 17, 18 years experience versus that person one, you know. So they would come up with a good enough plan and the execution would be horrible, and then I would look at it through my, you know, 70-year-old lens and then find every hole in their plan. And that
Yes.
person would take it such to heart because they spend 5 sleepless nights coming up with it, and I spend 5 seconds, you know, shooting holes. And then I started to scale it back a bit after I got, you know, different tutelage and leadership plans. Like, you know, what are we gauging right over here? Let's gauge the plan and not necessarily the outcome, because that person doesn't necessarily have the knowledge that you have, or they don't have necessarily have the skill, but they are executing for their level. So if I gauge, as I say, it had another crazy saying, you know, you got to grade a fish on his ability to swim, not his ability to climb a tree. You know, so I would gauge them based on their level of experience. And hey, what's my 95 is your 100. Hey, you got 100 in my book.
Wow, that's some good info. I think I recently learned what I was doing was that I was okay. I was actually not shooting a hole, but everything that I would get, I would start looking at things to fix, and I realized
He
that
was
was not
poking
right.
holes in stuff. Because I
Yeah,
told
I
him
was putting
yesterday.
holes,
He was
and it was
poking
like
holes.
flawless
Call it
stuff.
like
I'm
it is.
holes in it. Like, you
That
know,
just happened today.
I wasn't seeing the overall goodness of it. I was looking at, I need to fix this. Let's fix this. Okay, what about this? Well, there's a comma here. Let's capitalize this. Well, let's just fix the whole paragraph here. Not looking at the whole picture. It's good, but let's make it a little bit better. It's almost like being in that foxhole, and they tell you that your foxhole is never ever done
Mm.
because there's always room for improvement. You always got to continue to fortify. Go out there. You're always working on. You're always making it better. And he, I've recently learned is listening to my wife, listening to other people. It's like it's never going to be perfect. And not only that, I remember being on the Leave It on the Trail there, me and you, and you even saying that man, it's never going to be perfect. I'm like, no, man, it's got to be perfect, man. When I do this, when I finish this degree, I'm going to do this. Everything's going to be perfect. And my wife been telling me this for years. I'm like, no, you don't say it. It's got to be perfect. It's almost like doing ceremonies. You rehearse, rehearse, rehearse until it's perfect. And the execution day, there's always something that's off, but it still was good. Everything still, you get, hey, man, great job, great job. And I'm like, I was still, and maybe it's just a me problem now that I think about it. Now that we're sitting this one here, babe, you do this on purpose because because I was, and I just, I've always believed in you got to make it better. I critique myself harder than anyone else. I'm trying to make it better. Got to make it better. Um, but that good is good enough to get me there if I'm focusing on one thing and not several things. Um, and it's spot on. I mean, I can't say anything. I'm basically done, about to walk out right now. And here you are, Alex, dropping this knowledge, and but I just see I'm not sure. Even then, this is a valuable lesson because there's so many people out there doing it, and not only they doing it just for work related stuff, but they doing it in their marriage. How they hold their spouse or their loved one like they're an employee or something, or they're always putting them on hold when somebody's when they're talking to them on the phone and somebody walks in like I gotta call you back or put them on hold and stuff, and you're not really putting them first, but yet you say that you love them and they're your number one, but yet you continue to work late knowing that that same work's going to be there and everybody else who thought cared about you are already at home. Uh, so I guess it's really me. I got a lot of stuff on my chest tonight.
Go ahead, let it out.
But I guess I'm just starting to see this, and I'm really starting to see it based off of thinking about our times on in Hawaii when we used to walk those trails. Um, Now all that those different topics and I mean we covered everything,
We
right?
sure did.
We covered everything from giving up on our goals because of this or that or um it just so much. But we also talked about relationships. We talked about that a lot because it's we we wonder why someone is so mad based off of something that's so small to us. And come to find out that small thing that is on our heart is something very big to them. And I'm looking at through my lens like Alex, really? Alex, am I wrong?
That takes us back to the rice cooker. You may see it as a small thing, but obviously it's something much more. So you really cannot gauge, the importance that individuals put on a thing. And you touched on so many, so many gems and so many nuggets. And I think one thing that either some people do or some people realize, I think one of the reasons that people say give 100% into their job or give 100% in certain friendships is because their communication styles are alike. They're easy to talk to. So you and I, we go back 20 years. We grew up the same way in the military. We had a lot of experiences. I mean, we lived in the same building, so it's easy to talk to Reggie, versus to say to talk to a spouse that has a total different upbringing, a total different experience. I definitely can't use that same language, so you need to have, say, a number of different communication styles and a number of different languages on your belt, else it's going to be easy for that person to be like, what, it's just difficult to talk to you, it's difficult to communicate to you. Let me speak to my home girl or my girlfriend because they speak the same language. It's not that I don't want to communicate with you. We just have to sit down and understand and appreciate each other's communication styles and then kind of go from there. So I think there is a lot of likeness, people are drawn naturally, to people that do things alike, people that think alike, people that speak alike, people that have the same experiences. But then again, when you have that spouse, you got to appreciate their differences as well, because most of the times that's what you got involved with them for in the first place.
My wife eating this up right now. She's like, I told you.
It's just amazing how, for me, it's the point where the communication, right? Yes, we come 1 second, baby. When we come from different backgrounds, when we come from different places, but it's the question is, are you willing to take the time to understand what's important and how someone else sees it, be it your spouse, right? Because at this point we get into this relationship, we get into a relationship with a girlfriend, boyfriend, it starts out a relationship, but then once you get married, you have taken it to the next level. Like, this ain't just no pity in a game we playing here. Like, oh, hey guys, cute for right now, but tomorrow I may not be with you, right? Like, I will move on. But are we taking that time to understand, or are we going to continue to bring what we've done, our 40 self, our 43 self, what we've done for so long? Are we going to continue to do that in our relationships because we don't grow? right? We want to be better, we want to do better, but you're constantly coming up against each other, button heads, because nobody wants to change how they see somebody else's thought process.
Yes.
So we can say that all day and say, yeah, my husband don't listen to me, he don't understand. But when do we take the time to say, I feel this way, and then you come back with your way? Sir, please.
Yeah, for in relationships, that's definitely one of those sticking points, and it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of practice, and one thing that people have to realize, not because you've done something for 40, 43 years means that it was effective. It might have been effective with the person that you were with. It might have been effective for the way, for the job that you was in, but that does not mean that is something that you should actually take that forward. So as we've talked about a lot of times, as you go into different situations, as you go into different jobs, as you maintain different friendships, you pretty much have to start from ground zero again, unpack that rucksack, learn who you with, learn their communication style, learn their tidbits, when is a good time to have, certain things, what you should talk, what you should text. It's a lot. It's a lot of work, and most of us don't know how much work it is before we sign up in sign up for it. We kind of figure it out as we go. But once you don't quit and you manage to just have a forgiving heart and go to the next day, things tend to work out or not.
Yep. Because that forgiving thing, right? I had a conversation yesterday with one of my coach friends, and she was talking about she forgave her husband for something, right? And I said, but did you really? Did you really? Because if it continues to come up and trigger you, the forgiveness was not there. You could say you forgive, but the true forgiveness is it not triggering you to come back to that same place. So we can all say, yeah, I forgave, I forgave them. But did you really? Because at this point, you're still allowing that to affect your situation and your relationship. So the forgiveness is just a word until you truly dig deep and see why that affected you and how it affected you.
Oh, indeed. I would add, for relationships, forgiveness is one thing, but for me, you gotta forget. What happened yesterday was yesterday. To go into tomorrow, if you don't forget about it and you take yesterday into today, you probably ain't talking about for a good old week. And it is definitely something that I'm kind of working on. So, forgiveness is all fine and dandy, but I have to learn to forget a little better and just take each day as it comes, learn to fall in love and love each other again, because
So wait,
you can't live 20 years with 20 years of bad memories. We ain't gonna make it to 20.
so forgiving and forgetting, right? We let's talk about that for a second. The way you forget, or at least deal with it, is if the problem was dealt with how you feel it was correct, right? Because you could say that we have an argument, right? Me and you, we have an argument, and I feel as though what made me mad was not corrected. And at this point, you're saying, well, I said I was sorry, so that should be good enough, right? Like, I said I was sorry. In reality, that sorry doesn't mean nothing if it doesn't fix how I feel, right? Yeah, see? But
Yeah, but how do you know? How do you know that you are truly forgiven?
because, okay, so if we have a conversation about an argument, right? We argue about something, and we cannot come to a conclusion of, like, okay, yeah, people like, well, we can't come to agreement, so let's just call this a truce. It's not really a truce, because the person who was originally mad at that situation is still going to be triggered by that situation. So in reality, it comes to a point where people have to be honest and be like, you know what, that sorry didn't fix it, and it was a sorry apology. Like, you could have kept that sorry apology, because it really didn't fix nothing. And be honest, be willing to take that criticism of why it wasn't okay, right? And be okay with me feeling like that wasn't okay, because it continues to happen, right? Because you apologize today for something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But then 2 days later, you're still doing the same thing. So were you really sorry, or you was just telling me that to make me feel like it was okay?
Now,
Right.
what if so, and I know that
Because you got to take a deep breath.
this is not just me. I'm not talking about like me. It's other people who are going through it, and that I've seen. It's like, even though somebody did something wrong and they apologize, and they truly mean it. I'm so sorry. I'll never do this again, and everything's good for 2 months, and then one day they just didn't keep up with that expectation, and bang, I knew it. I knew you would just go back to where it's like,
But
and I see people, it's almost like, or did you really handle it then? Well, I thought I handled it. And I when I talk to people, friends, even my own kids, daughters, the older ones, um, they having a hard time with it because they can't let go. So they continue to hold it, even though that this person is doing so much better. Like 6 months down the road, they weren't able to keep up. I knew it. I knew it. Well, I've been trying. Give me time to get better. But see that face? That's how you know it's like, no. That obviously it wasn't handled the right way the first time.
exactly. And for me,
I,
go ahead, Alex.
No, I will be inclined to say I think people apologize too fast. When I say apologize too fast, is they just toss out a quick sorry right over there, and they don't afford themselves the opportunity to change the behavior that caused the problem in the first place. So they always say the best apology is change behavior. But to change a behavior or to change habit, it takes a prolonged period of time. We all know it takes 30 to 60 days, a prolonged period of time. So what you were talking about is to have those manageable expectations to afford me the time to actually change that habit and build a new habit. So there is a chance 30 days down the road, 60 days down the road, that may come up again because I haven't been repetitiously doing it, and it's not a habit for me. I've been doing it this way for 20 years, so don't expect me to change it in 20 minutes. And then we go right back to say, you see, you never meant that apology, and now here we are again. I think we need to, one, afford ourselves the opportunity and time to change, and then understand how meaningful an apology is and make those conscious efforts to change that behavior. But there is going to be a relapse or two in that process of change.
Or 3 or 10, right?
Just to be clear, we're not talking about me here.
Absolutely not.
No, it's not about you, sir, but we're just gonna say that in relationships, right? So when you say that comeback of I knew you wouldn't change, when you put that expectation of somebody to continuously do the same thing over and over again, you damn sure best believe that you're gonna get exactly what you expected because you've been waiting for it. And you're not allowing that person to grow. So, and then we've had this conversation too, right? Like I did something one way, hey, you expect me to do it that same way again and again. And it's like, I am going to continue to do that same thing because your expectations, you have put that out there for me to just be like, what? Really? Like, she's going to respond different. Or she's going to respond the same exact way every single time. You didn't give me a chance to grow. But because you have that mentally, you have that in your mind, you have created the same exact response each time because that's all you continue to think about. You never give that person a chance to do better. So the problem with how we live our life is when we say, we want you to do better. Like, I can do better. But then when you try to do better, it's like people don't expect you to do better, right? Because they're like, you're gonna do the same damn thing over and over again. But you're like, I changed. But did you really change? Or are you just playing that game.
So here's another part of communication too: action and words. And I think it's almost like how you have the five love languages. Are you speaking the same language? So I look at, for example, I need to hear you tell me that you're going to change. I need to hear you tell me of what the steps are. When other people are like, they're not telling me and they're showing. So the minute something happens, well, you didn't do this. You're like, when is the last time you see me do that?
Yep.
Oh, that's a good point. But you didn't tell me that you were going to work on this.
But,
But
that's an expectation, right? That you
yeah,
expect
that's an expectation.
to tell you how I'm going to change. You expect that person to be like, you know what? I'm going to do this. But then the minute they say that and they don't hold up to that, then you like, you told me you were going to do it and you didn't do it. So now you put this expectation on them, or you expect them to tell you, I'm going to change this specific thing, and then you're going to be happy, right? But then when they slip up, right? Then you're like, I knew you couldn't do no better. I knew you couldn't do no better, right? So
Which makes the situation even worse. And now that person is like, well, you know what? Then why am I even trying?
double expectations.
So I wasted 2 months trying to make myself better. And here, it's
You should never do something to make somebody else feel better.
there it is.
It's
There it
you
is.
doing something because that change, that 30-day change, that 30-day something, you're only change. If you see that, if you okay with being a hot mess, be a hot mess, right? But if you know you're not supposed to be doing that thing, and the problem with it, people try to change too much at once, right? Instead of just changing one thing at a time, right? Because that plays a part in what our diets and our different things, and we're gonna get right. But then we try to eat better, work out, and do this everything at once, and then fail because we try to change too much. So if you want to change a habit, change one habit at a time and let the rest fall into place.
I totally agree with you, and you just reminded me of something about some past experience that I had. When you attempt to change too much and too fast, and then you start losing the essence of yourself, then you start to become miserable. And
Yes.
it's like, well, if I wasn't good enough for you to be with, let's just go ahead and end this kind of thing. So they want to change your communication style. They want to change the way you eat. They want to change the way you cross your feet. And it's like, hey, and you kind of mentioned, you shouldn't be doing things, for others' expectations or to make other people happy. Well, I like the way that I'm doing it, and as you say, sometimes you have to leave individuals where they are. It is okay. You accept that person for who they are, where they are, and if they're comfortable staying there, beside the knowledge that you've given them or the opportunity that you have afforded them, it's not our job to save the entire world. We can try, but we have to. Uh, Allow people to be themselves and be where they are. And that has been one of the hardest lessons that I've had to learn, because you're looking at people that you love and you care for either suffer, struggle, or do a kind of thing. And it's hard to say turn your back on them and not try to offer them. But if they don't want it, they're not going to take it.
Nope.
So this goes back to previous episode about, so what happened? Was it what happened with the relationship? So is this not the same person you met? Was this person when you first met where you pretending to be someone else in order to please that other person? What happened along the way? Did you just grow out of love? What happened?
I think Reggie's trying to bait me over here. I think Reggie's trying to bait me over here.
No, you dropping some very good knowledge. I would just like for people to know, because I know even for my daughters who watch this, they get these nuggets and they're like, wow. And it's not just hearing it from me or Cheese or someone. When they hear it from someone else, it's like, now I really have to listen.
I've had that same understanding and belief and look at that situation or problem the same way for years. But you cannot expect somebody that you met 20 years ago to be the same 20 years after. You have to fall in love with that person daily for who they are not, who they're going to be, who they are 15 years down the road, and continue to have those communications and understand, well, hey, 5 years ago, I was this person. This is what I was interested in, but 5 years down the road, I am no longer. So now you're no longer falling in love for that thing that that person did for you, or that thing that that person, or who that person was then. You are in love with the person for now. So you got to learn and grow together. If you're expecting, you'll be complaining every day. Well, you used to do that 5 years ago. You used to do that at the start of the relationship. Well, yeah, you're right. We used to do that, but we don't do that anymore. Here we are.
Yeah, I'm not 20. I'm not 21 years old hitting them weights every day.
Exactly right.
Over 40, Mama tapping them to slow down.
Manage them expectations, man.
Yes.
Let's talk about realistic goals now.
But it's all about releasing your expectations on everything, allowing life to just be. Because I'm gonna tell y'all right now, every expectation you have is gonna fail you, fail you, fail you, because you're expecting that same response, or oh, why are you doing it different now? Because people want to do things differently, and it's okay to be different. It's just when you live your life in an expectation, you will be in a place of disappointment all the time, because somebody is not going to do something you expected them to do, and you're going to turn around and be mad, and you're going to always be mad because you didn't get what you expected from somebody else. If and I truly believe, if you want somebody, like we talked about earlier, if you want something done a specific way, you got to do it yourself. And the minute you do it yourself, see how the results are for you if you got exactly what you expected from that thing. Because in turn, look at how, because I told y'all my expectations is through the roof, like through the roof. And I have reasons to have them through the roof, because I can establish what my expectation is. I do exactly what I say. It's like, if I tell you I'm gonna do this specific thing, you best believe that it will be done. And if I say it's gonna be done by a specific date, it will be done by that date. But I have expectations on myself to complete what I say I'm going to complete.
And I commend you, babe, because your whole thought process has changed about expectation too. Therefore, I don't have to feel like I have to go to that level, because
Yes.
you know my expectation is I'm right here, and then you're up here, but everybody else is down here, so I'm good. But when I look at you, you're up here, but you're not holding me to that same expectation.
Yes.
And I think that when we do that to people in general, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Alex, about depending on where you go, you know, you can't really just hold that same expectation. But I used to be very hard at this, because I always say I'm not changing my standard for anyone. Um, but I would hold my standard on everyone. Like, this is the way hey, your head, yay. You see how this is, Alex? Let's go. Get hot, baby.
Yay, yay.
But you can't, and that's how we are in the military. It's like you can't, if the army regulation doesn't say it must be clean shaved, then don't hold that same expectation. The thing we used to do about the military, if you're not scoring out of 0 to 300 points and 200, what was it, 190 is passing, okay, that's good enough. Now don't expect to get, accelerated in promotion. But what we did was, oh, if you're not scoring 290, hey, get in the back. If you're not, and it's like you can't hold that same expectation on them, because that's not the Army standard. That's your standard. And I would take that into so many different levels, and across the whole board. And you can't call cadence. What? Hey, get in the back, or you get on the left side, your turn, you're gonna call cadence next. And I was like, but that was everything, because I said I'm not gonna lower my standard for someone. But it becomes a culture shock when you get out here in this corporate America, the civilian world, and expectations. Oh, so the military is right here, and corporate America is
Wow.
down here. And that's because they're not training to accomplish a mission. I wouldn't say every organization is like that because a lot of it's tied to money. So I'm gonna perform better if I get more money. In the military, you're not getting more money. You're just performing better because you have a higher mission to accomplish. But here it's more like it's more time driven. Hey, well, it's almost 3 o'clock. Time to go. No, no, it's time to go. So it's just it's really that managing whole expectations, and um, I've just learned that you can't even hold those same expectations on other people, not just in the military, but civilian world, even with your own kids, and we tend to do that. Um,
Very much so. And I think she had a good point or a good soundbite when she mentioned is like, I'm not changing my standard for anyone. If your standards are, the creme de la creme, the top of the thing, why lower your standard and accept mediocrity? Because then mediocrity becomes the new standard. And as I say, if you lower the bar, you're going to hit it every time, so it is okay to hold yourself to a high standard and hold others to a high standard as well, whether they meet it, whether they choose to meet it or whatever it is. But as far as lowering the bar for everyone to hit it to feel good about themselves, no, I'm going to tell you sometimes your good enough is not good enough, so that's just
but
something that's part of growth.
yeah, that's true. However, it is good enough depending on what the organization is saying is good enough. And I find that very challenging. And sometimes but you can't complain because you put yourself in that situation. If you don't like it here in civilian world, you can go somewhere else.
True.
So,
Don't lower your standards to fit
yeah,
in.
your personal standards,
Hey,
no.
I'm gonna wear my
But
South
everybody
Carolina.
else around you, oh man, it's gonna. And it's like people told me this when I first started. It says, "Hey man, you're doing too much. You're making everybody else look bad." It's like, well, y'all need to bring up y'all standard because I'm not changing.
Cause I'm back here like you better not drop your damn standards for them people.
Oh, she is. Plus, what I love about my wife is that she continues to make sure that I uphold that standard, the same standard. And I think we all try to marry up. We marry up to where our wives continue to hold us accountable to that. I went in. I just say this real quick. I went in one time to work without a tie, without a shirt, because I was going to do some extra work that required me to get a little bit dirty. That was it. That was what are you wearing? No, you go into work like that, and then you change, and then you. And I was like, yeah, because the thing is that people notice. People are watching you at all times.
They waiting for you to lower your level and your standards to match theirs because they're like, "Yep, I knew you would have. I knew you. I knew it. I knew it. He was gonna do it. I told y'all he wasn't gonna last." It's just for me. He thinks it's too much work, right? Like, oh, babe, I gotta change. Yes, you do. You go to work.
And
You
I
go
was changing my clothes in the garage when COVID hit. And I would come in the house almost, with no clothes on because, it's like, no,
you're not
you
gonna bring
keep that
nobody
out there. You go straight to the shower and you wash that germs off of you, and then you can touch us and give us a kiss or hug. No,
Make moves
A
quick.
B.
Make moves quick. But see,
But
for me, that goes back to we accept things, we lower our standards for other people. My standards will not be lowered. You will not come half stepping when you already knew where I was and how I started out. Like, I didn't come out the box and be like, oh, I'm brand new today, so this is what you're gonna do. No, you don't get in the bed dirty. You don't come. Listen, it's a whole list of things that we gonna own up to, and we gonna. But I put it out there in the beginning. But that's the problem with people. The communication, right? We pretend that it's so cute. Like, oh yeah, like you're cringing inside by something they do because you trying to pretend to be cute. And the minute they don't, we can't hold up to this thing. A year later, like, oh my God, that is so nasty. Like, okay, now I'm mad as hell because I didn't tell you from the beginning that I didn't like that, right? Like that's the problem with people and with everything is be honest up front. That's the part of communicating. You don't like something, be honest about it. Do not sit there and pretend that, oh, it's okay. It ain't. It's not. It's nasty. Don't do it. But with everything, like it doesn't have to be something that's nasty or something that whatever it is for you. Do not accept something, and that's where the communication breakdown is. We accept what people think, right? Society, somebody else thinks you should accept because it's okay for them, right? It's okay. Like people taking their shoes off when they come in the house. We don't wear shoes in our house. And if I ask you to wear a cover, you best believe if you don't want to put a cover on your shoes or take your shoes off, you're not welcomed in the house. It comes to things like that. And I remember when what was it? Chloe, right? When she was like, well, my shoes are new. She put her shoes on upstairs and walked downstairs with the shoes on. I said, I'm sorry, ma'am. You got shoes on in my house? She was like, well, they're new. I said, no, you cannot wear shoes because that bad habit of, and I think Alexa said it too, you create now a habit where you think you're going to accidentally, quotations in the air, accidentally walk through the house with your shoes because you forgot, because yesterday they were new. Today they ain't. But that's just, for me, that was just a thing. Like people say, oh, well, this is just that one time, until that one time becomes 10 times. And then now my rule is out the window because you thought it was okay to not stand by it that one time. Because everything, yes, we make mistakes, but if you go into something knowing that you weren't supposed to do it, now it's intentional, right? Because we choose what we want to follow in everything we do.
And then they don't know what that looks like, or they feel like, oh, well, you didn't
correct it. What you got to say, Alex?
Oh, I was waiting on Reggie over here. There's a certain, caveat to what you're saying, and that is that being a standard bearer or having high standards is difficult. It is difficult for you to maintain, and then for others to accept your standard as well, because as I say, sometimes they're looking at you, for you to waver or for you to fail. Sometimes they ostracize you. They tend to think, hey, he's just this way because he's looking for X amount of accolades. No, that's just you. That's just your standard. That's just your performance, and it's lonely at the top. It is lonely to be a top performer. But if you want to excel and you want to have standards, you want to have nice things, you want to educate yourself. If you just want to be in that 1%. It's lonely up there. It is very lonely up there, and I've lost coworkers and friends just maintaining any particular kind of standard because that's not their standard, and they band together, and you just out there on the outside, and it gets lonely out there sometimes. But as you say, you can compromise your standard.
I'm okay with being out there on the outside, y'all. I'm okay. You don't want to be a part of me? We good. I'm still going to press on. It's just, I know I think differently, and I know everybody is not like me, and I'm okay with that. But you gotta, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but I refuse to adjust and adapt because somebody doesn't like what I choose to do for me. And the problem is a lot of people aren't okay with being out there in the outside. Hey, I'm gonna prepare with my coat, my jacket, my umbrella, my rain boots. I'm gonna trudge through those that trenches by myself if I have to. And there's always gonna be somebody with you. They're just not willing to take that little step extra because they're afraid of what everybody else is going to think of them. When you release that thought of what are they going to think of me? Do you know how much power is in that little thing? Like, I'm going to do it. Just like when we decide we do a diet, or we change our lifestyle, and somebody like, so we going out drinking, you coming? No, I'm not drinking for a month. Really? Why? That's stupid for you, smart for me, my decision. But not everybody is willing to stay outside on that ledge. Like, okay, hey, I'm out here on this ledge. Yes, it's cold, but you know what, boo, I'm equipped with what I need. And when we start realizing that if they're not gonna come with you, they ain't your people. You got it.
But when they see you climbing that ladder,
hey, they tagging on. Hey, remember when we was friends, right? When we were no, we're not here no more. Like, be willing to take that leap. Be willing to start that whatever you want to start. Be willing to do that and stop looking for people to say you should do that. That would be that's a great idea. Oh, you know, you always have them naysayers like, what's wrong with her? Why is she doing that? I'm doing what I want to do, right? Like, I'm doing, and it's not just he, right? Like, here he go again with what he's saying. Keep talking, keep saying it, because at this point, they're listening. They're just choosing to pretend they're not there.
Chisa, you make it look easy. You make it look easy, you know, having that much, you know, confidence and charisma and knowledge to take that leap. You know, a lot of people don't have that belief in themselves, you know. So whereas it's easy for us to say, hey, take a jump, take a leap, I can stand alone, I got my rucksack packed. Other people need that cheerleader or that bandwagon, you know, to approve them, and they don't know how liberating it is, you know, for your give a damn to be busted. It's like, I don't give a damn. You know, when you can get to that stage, I mean, that is liberation. You will have no idea.
Hey, it's powerful.
It is.
But you got to take it one step at a time. You have to be willing to do that first thing. Like, what is something that, and that's for everybody. So the next, I charge everybody with the fact that choose that one thing today that you say, I can't do that. I cannot do that. Take that one thing and start working towards it. Like, take little baby steps, write it down, mind map it, to put it in a circle, and then look at what you need to do to get to that next level. And when you figure that next step out and you start making your way to that next level, you'll be amazed on how much things start to fall into place when you just take that initial step to actually just realize what you want and how you want things to fall into place for you. It'll be amazing.
I mean, as you said, it's got to be what you want, not what someone wants for you, but what you want. Because we go wrong. We're wrong to try to. I've done this.
Please.
To tell you should do so because I want you to do it. Either husband, father, wife, what have you. It's got to be what you want, and you go after that.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, Reggie, because I've come to the realization here lately that some people don't know what they want. You talking about individuals that are 25, 35, 45 and have never gained their passion or realized what it is they want to do. So for us, it sounds simple. Hey, just do what you want. But for them, it is so scary because when they look into their bag, and I know she's still talking about mind mapping, I can't map out a course because I don't know where I'm going. I have no idea what I want to do, no idea what I like to do, because they were always so scared to take a leap in any particular direction. They were always waiting for company. So I've gotten to realize there are a lot of people out here, sometimes myself included. It's like, what do I do now? You know, it's like, what do I truly love? I've loved the military and been in the military for so long. So all the passions that I used to have, those are gone, you know, so I have to find something new to, you know, to latch on to.
Yes, and you probably just realize that in these transitioning courses, right? Because you realize, okay, I don't have any more. Yeah, I do. You realize that. Okay, look at your cup. Excuse me. You realize that you're not the only one going through it because
everybody is. There's always somebody that's not, and you know what? It comes to the fact that when people say, I don't know what to do, this is where meditation, like, I know a lot of people out there probably like, what the heck she talking about? I'm not meant to literally just sit in a spot for 5 minutes and just sit in silence. Like, whatever comes to you, whatever thought comes to you, allow it to be processed, right? So you say you don't know what you want. You don't know. What do I do? Literally sit there. And every day start paying attention to the things that excite you, that bring you joy. Like, right? Like, so you're sitting there, you're like, you know, I want to paint. Paint. If you feel as though if that came to you, paint and see where it takes you. Go ahead, Reginald.
I've often felt like that. I did not know what to do. And then I realized if you ask someone that's very close to you, hey, what do you think I like to do? They've been watching you this whole time. They see things that they see that you like. For me, I did not know I like doing wood or things. My wife would tell me, why don't you do this? You always do it. I'm like, I do. Sometimes you don't even know you're doing it because that's just something you love to do, but you think in your head, no, I have to do something else. No, how about do that? Even those are to picking out things that my wife always gets me on this. I was like, babe, I don't know what shirt to wear. Well, how about wear the shirt that's in your hand? You already know what you want, and sometimes it takes someone to help point you in the right direction. And that's just something I learned.
One of the things I think I heard this in a podcast is why people give up on their dreams or things that they like to do so much is because it doesn't pay. Sometimes your passion doesn't pay. I like to bake, but I bake pretty well, but I don't necessarily have a market to pay the bills. So far I forego that skill, I forego that passion, and I just do a rudimentary 9 to 5 because I have bills to pay. And before you know it, you have lost, your love for anything because you have to chase that dollar, so to speak. So I know I've definitely been victim to that. Things that I used to love to do didn't necessarily pay at that time, and I had to do something that I just had to do because I had responsibilities. So
yeah, I was. One guy told me when I was talking about doing the whole speaking game, he said, "Passion don't pay the bills."
no, they don't. Not all the time.
Yes, but it will take you where you need to go if you stay consistent. Consistency
right.
is the key. And people, we go out there and we say, I can't do this because I don't have this. That I don't have time thing, you will never have time if you continue to say, I don't have time. Time will never be a thing for you because you will always be doing little things that take up your time instead of you actually sitting there and looking at, okay, I want to do this, but those time wasters, right? Well, what's our time wasters? The time wasters. We looking at all these different things. You want to build yours, but you're too busy on your phone looking at all this crazy stuff or all this dumb stuff that's filling your head with, oh, well, I can't get to her level because she been doing it for this long. How do you know? You wasting time watching her. You just adding to her value because you watching her and not doing you. So this part here, when people, if you don't know what you want, I say figure out, take and sit with yourself. Start looking at what you used to do. I mean, at the beginning, we talked about, who you were before. But if you want to get back to that, like Reginald tells me, he's like, I'm too old for that. I can't do this, right? But you can. We are never too old to do anything. We're never too old to dream. We're never old to do things. But don't go out there doing nothing stupid.
I want to be a professional football player.
Go ahead, Reggie.
My eye is twitching. I cannot do with him. Like, didn't do it big, boo. Do it big. But at this point, don't go out there doing something stupid to say, oh, well, something gonna come for it. Be smart about it. Take real action to do something for you that makes you happy. Something that makes your heart smile. If it doesn't make you money, still continue to do your 9 to 5, but fit it into your time so you can be happy with where you are. Make time for what makes you happy. It doesn't have to pay your bills right now, but you never know where it will go after that. Just be willing to invest in you. And that's what it boils down to, being accountable for what you want and what makes you happy. Because when you start looking for other people and other things to make you happy, that's where you're going to fail in life, because ain't nobody going to make you happy. Because if you can't be happy with yourself, then the rest it's no good to you.
No, true.
So, but we have now reached our hour and 9 minutes, and I don't want to hold you up, Alex, but we will
never
have you back if you
want.
want.
Oh, indeed. It will be an honor and privilege.
So, but I appreciate everybody that's watched that and whoever's going to rewatch us. And I appreciate you spending time with us in this space. All right.
Appreciate you, Alex.
All right, take care, y'all.
All right, y'all take care.